Aloha, my friends. This is Billy Wiggly coming at you live from the Ninth Island, Las Vegas, Nevada. How you doing today, my friend? Are you staying positive? Because you know that's the only way to be. Hey, I gotta show you something today, and let's get right into AI for Leaders. This is my newest course, just recently released, and in this course, we've got quizzes, of course, so that you can reinforce your learning. And what we see right here is the beginning of our first quiz. When I press start, you'll see that I've got true, false, and there's going to be multiple choice, matching, and the like. So any of you that has ever created quizzes for a training or a course or a workshop that you've given, you know that it sometimes can be really challenging and time consuming to get just the right questions in place and the types of questions so that they'll be able to reinforce the learning of all of your students. So my friends, what I've done is I made it easy on myself. I used my skills and I built the Quizbot right here. And what the Quizbot does is it makes quizzes for my courses. And today I'm going to demonstrate how I made this particular Quizbot right here. Are you ready? Let's do it. All right, here we are in the Quizbot, and the Quizbot starts by going to ChatGPT. And right in here in ChatGPT, what we can do is we can just go right up here to where the settings are. You'll see your initials. There's my initials right there. I click on it and you can see your settings, how to customize ChatGPT, and My GPTs is where we're going to want to go to. So I click on My GPTs, and here you're going to see all the GPTs that I've created already. Ooh, nice. Look at all those. And basically these are just chatbots that I built for specific purposes. This is where don't get mad, get skills comes in. Why not amplify your intelligence with some artificial intelligence? Now let me go right ahead and show you that the first thing we got to do is click create a GPT. This is real easy. We create a GPT and then this is the beginnings of it. You're going to go right ahead and name your GPT, put a description, and this is the key part right here. The instructions, this part right here, because this is where you program it. And language is code. And in other words, that's where you put a prompt. Now, when we're ready to create this GPT, we can just go right ahead and press create, and ChatGPT will generate the GPT for us. Then when we want to create an image, we just go right over here and press on this plus. We can upload a photo or we can use DALL-E. And DALL-E will generate an image based on the description that you gave it. So those two are connected. And once again, the instructions, you can think of this as where the prompt goes. Now let's break down the Quizbot. So when we go to the Quizbot, now what I can do is I can just go right up to the Quizbot And I can say edit GPT so that you can see what I did with a GPT that I've already constructed. But let me give you an example of what it does. So I've got a conversation starter right there to wake up my GPT. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I like to wake up my GPTs and make sure that they're there. So I use conversation starters. And where does this conversation starter come from? Well, it comes from when you're editing your GPT. Go back into Edit GPT. You'll see that right down here, we have what are called our conversation starters. And there you see, are you ready to help me? So when we look right over here, that's the preview of what our chatbot is going to look like. Now let's get right back to the Quizbot so that I can show you how it works. So I'll go right ahead and I'll press Quizbot. Are you ready to help me make some fantastic quizzes? And the Quizbot gets to work. And here we'll notice that it's answering us. I'm ready to help you create some fantastic quizzes based on the materials you've provided. Now, that's keyword right there, based on the materials that I provided, because I can't just have it generate any old quiz. It's got to be based on the contents of my course. So it's got to reach into some memory or some storage. That's called an embedding. More on that later in another class. So when we're looking at what our chatbot is doing, it's telling us, hey, here's the steps to create your quiz. Confirm the sections. What are the question types that you want? And then we'll generate the quiz. So we're going to start with confirming the sections. Which sections or lessons would you like to focus on for the quiz? And question types. Would you like a mixture of question types, or do you have a specific types in mind? And what I want to do is I don't want just to have a true false. I want to have a mixture of questions. So right in the mixture of questions, I'll just say right here, first of all, section 5. That's what I want the quiz on. Section 5. And then I want a mixture of all questions. And we're live on Aloha Friday. We're live, so this is scary. Not really, because we don't get mad. We got skills, and we know how to use AI. So let's go right ahead and enter. And now you're going to see the GPT, the Quizbot, searching the knowledge base, and then it starts putting together this quiz. Wow. Doesn't that look cool? It's working for us already. Let me zoom out just a little bit right here so that you can see. We've got multiple choice that is generated, and it's based on section 5, which I asked for, which is a section on upskilling and reskilling the workforce. How did it know that? Well, because there's a knowledge base where it's extracting this information from. So these are real questions based on the content of my real course. Let's get a little bit closer. Multiple choice. What is a key benefit of integrating AI-driven platforms into continuous learning programs within an organization? There's the questions, your options. There is the correct answer, and there's an explanation. Then we move on. We've got true and false. We've got correct answer is false. We've got matching type questions, and we've got sequence questions. These are the types of questions that I've asked the Quizbot to prepare for me. Now, if I just wanted true false, it would have just made true false questions based on what we tell it to do. But how did it know? How did it know to do all this? You've probably gotten an idea already. You're thinking, Billy, it's in the instructions that you gave it. That's right. So let's go right up to the Quizbot and click on Edit GPT. And when we click on Edit GPT, we're going to go right to, go right to the GPT. And it's opening up right here in the configure. It's already been created, so we're in configure. This is the image that Dali generated for me for the Quizbot. And you can try several times. If you don't like the first image, you can just retry. And if you want to make a little change to the image, you can just change the description right here. So what I did is we gave our chatbot a name. the Quizbot. We gave it a description, makes quizzes for our courses, and then right here is the instructions. Now, you can type in what it is that you want your GPT to do, and ChatGPT itself will refine the instructions that you gave it, or it'll just follow exactly the instructions that you've typed in. The prompt. What I've done is I've given it a very specific prompt. And remember, my friends, language is code. And this is the prompt that I'm using. It generates quiz based on specific sections and quiz types. These are the steps, tasks, and I gave it an example. So these are all the instructions right here. That's the prompt. I have a workshop, languages code, where you can start learning how to prompt. Then I added the conversation starters right in here. And then the knowledge base. This is really important. The most important part is the instructions, the prompt. Anytime you're working with chatbots, the prompt is the most important part. That solves pretty much always solves problems. When it's not a technical issue, it's the prompt. And with all the different chatbot systems that I've worked with, you might have some issues, and people are always trying to find a technical reason for that problem. And it's typically 90% of the time, 95% of the time, the prompt. Now the knowledge base. How did it know what section that I wanted the quiz to be made for? Well, it's got the outline and it's got the curriculum. And then these are all the different lessons. So when it asks for a section, it's looking into the outline to match section 5. And then it's going to look at all the lessons for section 5. Here we have one. And that's it. Oh, right in here. There's another one right in here. So now this is the knowledge base right there. And when you're working with chatbots, that is now called an embedding. And what the chatbot is going to do is it's going to use this as a memory. And you might have heard the term RAG, R-A-G. That's retrieval augmented generation. And what that means is it's going to look in the knowledge base to retrieve the answers. It's going to augment it using in this case, GPT-4o. And then it's going to generate the results based on the information that it retrieved from the knowledge base, and then augmented, and then generated. So there's all these steps. Now, for the capabilities, I wanted it to have some web browsing capabilities, and I wanted it to be able to generate images, and I wanted to have access to code interpreter. Now, all these other functions right over here, the actions, now that's something to cover in another lesson. So this is the basic layout of my Quizbot. So when I go back into the Quizbot, now we know how it works. So we've got the conversation starter right here, where I just went ahead and say, Quizbot, are you ready to help me make some fantastic quizzes? Now, this initial response is going to be different. Sometimes it's a nice long response. Sometimes it's a short response. Now, you'll notice that this response that it gave me is different than the one that it gave me just a few minutes ago when we first started, right? So, but it's basically the same start. It's going to want us to tell it the section and the question types and then say, go for it. So let's go with a different section this time. I'm going to say, Quizbot, let's do section. And I don't even need to type section. I could just put 7. So I'll put 7, which is the final section in this course, comma, and I just want multiple choice only. So those are the types of questions. That's what it wants to know, the section and the type of questions. Then the next thing that we do is just enter. And now check him out. The Quizbot goes right in there to section 7. See what he's saying? Great. We'll focus on section 7 from your materials and create multiple choice questions, because that's what I asked for. Multiple choice questions based on the content of lesson 7. And here's the questions. So when we look, key takeaways, action items, and additional resources. Question: what is a key takeaway? Emphasizing the conclusion of the generative AI for leaders. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, this is just a great way to make my quizzes. And it just took me a few steps to build it. Now, whenever I have another course besides AI for leaders, let's say I've got another course, like for example, AI shortcuts, tips, and tricks. Well, what I'll do is I'll just go right back into the Edit GPT, and then, come on, Edit GPT. And then we can just update the knowledge base, just like that. So now it's going to, with my other course, when I ask it for questions, it's going to look into this embedding and base the questions based on what's in there. So that, my friends, is how I built the Quizbot GPT. And if I can do it, you can do it too. And if you're having a hard time getting it done, well, just contact Mr. Aloha and I'll help you right out. So those of you that are following me on LinkedIn, just visit my website and it'll take you right to the AI for Leaders course. And right in the AI for Leaders course, there's also our friend, the strategy bot, ready to answer your questions. So remember, strategy.getskills.ai. And my friends, you now know how to build a chatbot. And remember, my friends, like I always say, I love you. And most of all, keep on learning. Don't get mad. Get skills. Aloha.